Tea-Biz podcast delivers tea news that you need to know. A recap of the week's major headlines with commentary and cultural trends hosted by Dan Bolton. It is the voice of origin for tea professionals and enthusiasts worldwide.
The Tea-Biz podcast and blog connect you directly to experts in the tea lands. Listen as their voices reveal the news, innovations, cultural insights, and consumer trends that most impact the industry. Paired with Tea Journey, a digital magazine for tea enthusiasts, the Tea-Biz portal is a global resource for everyone who loves tea. Hello, everyone. Here are this week's headlines. Summer is off to an extreme weather start. British authorities recall insect-tainted organic infusion, and the Northwest Tea Festival will soon host its 14th edition. Plus, assessing tea digitally. A half-dozen critical tea supply chain handoffs require quality control assessments by producers and processors, traders, wholesale buyers, and retailers. Ascertaining and predicting tea quality at each step is time-sensitive, laborious, and expensive. Newly developed cloud-based predictive and prescriptive profilers powered by artificial intelligence are redefining transactions by offering buyers and sellers unbiased reference points. These portable devices expedite quality assessment by producing an affordable digital profile that is as unique as a fingerprint and traceable. Profiles combine tasting notes and test results on-site in minutes. Tea-Biz invited the development team at ProfilePrint in Singapore to describe their technology and its application to tea. Sherman Ho, Chief Science and Technology Officer, Ellis, Chua, Chief Commercial Officer, and Phong Tham, Head of Corporate at ProfilePrint, joined us for the briefing with tea buyer Ravi, Pillai, Director of Quality and Development at DAVIDsTea in Montreal. More in a minute. But first, this important message.
What makes a perfect cup of Ceylon tea? The perfect cup is from the tea businesses that ensure the protection of all the children living within their tea estates. We salute Kailani Valley, Telawakili, Bogawanthalawa, Harana, and ABLTMA tea estates. Support Save the Children, Sri Lanka.
Torrential rains in the tea-growing provinces of South China forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people this week, while blazing temperatures in Assam mark the beginning of summer. There are reports of extreme weather across the tea lands. In Fujian, China, 4 died in flash floods during downpours that set new records, and a dozen are unaccounted for, with 66,000 people displaced. Tea growers there produce 300 to 350,000 metric tons of mainly white and oolong tea. In Guangdong province, 5 were killed in mudslides, with 15 reported missing. Last month, 48 people in Meizu died when a bridge collapsed after heavy rains. Meizu is known for its Dangkong Phoenix oolong. Northern China is experiencing dry 100-degree Fahrenheit days, that's 38 Celsius. Hubei province, one of the 10 top tea-producing provinces, is experiencing a severe drought. Annual tea production is typically 150 to 200,000 metric tons there. According to the China Meteorological Center, temperatures in Hubei reached 102 Fahrenheit, that's 39 Celsius, while in Taiwan, the self-governing island claimed by China, temperatures were reported at 98-degree highs. Global warming increases the water-holding capacity of the atmosphere by about 4% for every degree Fahrenheit rise in temperature. Extreme precipitation and potentially atmospheric rivers occur when a storm passes through the warmer atmosphere. While tea depends on rainfall, flooding damages root systems, and hail and high winds decrease yield. More critically, heavy rain dilutes secondary metabolites within the plant, lowering quality and lessening the plant's health benefits. including antioxidants and lower caffeine levels. In 2016, ethnobotanist Dr. Selina Hamad, an assistant professor of sustainable food systems at Montana State University, told Oothu that, quote, when it's really wet, the plant doesn't have the ecological clues it needs to make the aromatic compounds that give tea all of its flavors, end quote. India is experiencing the opposite. The Tea Association of India predicts a 60 million kilo tea shortfall across North India by the end of June, compared to the same period in 2023. Production in Assam is down 8% compared to 2023 levels. West Bengal estates reported a decline of 20 to 40% in May. Production totals are down 13% through April, leading to an anemic second flush. The scarcity has pushed prices above 300 rupees per kilo compared to an average of 236 rupees per kilo for auctioned CTC in the previous year. Orthodox leaf averaged 312 rupees per kilo this week. The UK's Food Standards Agency, FSA, on Tuesday recalled 3 blends of Kinitra Food organic premium leaf tea sold by retailers HomeSense and TK Maxx. Neither the Calm and Relax, Chamomile, or Sleepy blends contained Camellia sinensis. The FSA did not disclose the type of insect discovered or whether the insects were alive, but prioritized the recall. Checkstand warnings at TK Maxx included the FSA's advice to stop using immediately. Shoppers returning the product will receive a refund, writes TK Maxx, a mass-market discounter. Affected batch codes were sold in 40-gram and 60-gram jars between April and June. The company did not disclose the number of jars manufactured. The FSA release stated that TK Maxx and HomeSense recalled select batches because insects may be present in these products, making them unsafe to consume. In March, U.S.-based East West Tea Company, owners of Yogi Tea, voluntarily recalled 54,000 packages containing 877,000 tea bags after traces of pesticide were found in its organic Yogi Echinacea immune support tea. According to the Food and Drug Administration, no adverse effects were reported. Many consider that Seattle's Northwest Tea Festival to be the genesis of tea festivals throughout the United States. It is the biggest tea party on the West Coast and a celebration of tea. This year marks the 14th edition of the 2-day event, which will be held September 28th and 29th at the Exposition Hall in Seattle Center. Vendor registration is now open. The festival showcases the multifaceted world of tea, covering all aspects of culture, history, sensory, and sciences. The festival is for people of all ages and all levels of tea experience, from mildly curious folks to passionate lifelong aficionados and all level of tea nerds. The event brings together authors, industry experts, importers, buyers, retailers, artists, and educators, so attendees can experience something new and expand their enjoyment of tea. Visit nwteafestival.com online or Facebook to learn more. Next, Arvinda Anantharaman in Bengaluru reports on this week's India Tea News.
India Tea News for the week ending 21st June 2024. In top news this week, the Bombay Burma Tea Corporation's Singampatti group has ceased operations since June 15th. The group included the estates of Manjolai, Manimuttar and Oothu, located in the Tirunelveli district in South India, at the southern tip of the Western Ghats. The reason for ceasing operations is the end of the 99-year land lease. The Forest Department issued an eviction notice asking for a phased plan for withdrawal. The Bombay Burma Company has been around in the plantation business for 150 years, and the Singampatti estates have been renowned for their natural beauty and also progressive efforts to maintain the area's biodiversity. In fact, the Oothu tea estate has been completely organic since 1988, producing about 1 million kilos annually. In a LinkedIn post, the General Manager of Tea Operations, Asghar Hussain, was quoted as saying the company's primary concern now was for the future and welfare of its employees. On a disheartened note, he also writes, for a company like BBTC, which has conducted the tea business for the past 150 years with honesty and dedication, the stab is far deeper than we can comprehend. Oothu produced one of the finest orthodox organic with a global customer base. In other news from Assam, the Botleaf Tea Manufacturers Association have launched a state-of-the-art mobile residue testing lab earlier this week. This comes after months of concerns about pesticide residue in both leaf and made tea, and the need to address it. Various developments have taken place, including the Botleaf factories refusing to accept any green leaf which has not been tested. So finally, they have set up this lab in collaboration with Eurofins Analytical Services India, and it comes equipped with the necessary instruments to test both green tea leaves and made tea. The lab was inaugurated by Bimal Bora, Minister of State for Commerce and Public Enterprises. Also from Assam is our last news this week on a new tea disease that has been detected by a team of scientists led by Professor Piyush Pandey from the Assam University in Silchar. This follows from research that was conducted over 2 years and was reported by the Assam Tribune. The disease itself is a leaf necrosis caused by a fungus known as Lasiodiplodia theobrome, and it's reportedly similar to another fungal disease caused by Corticum, also a leaf rot disease. And this new research is expected to help identify and improve treatment, and therefore save tea leaves better.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Nish. I grew up in an organic tea farm and founded Nepal Tea Collective in 2016. Tea is not just a beverage for me, but a catalyst for social change, sustainably empowering hardworking artisans like my parents for the past 30 years. I'm on a mission to make the whole world aware of the goodness of Nepali teas and the good that comes from supporting growers in this remarkable land. If you haven't tasted Nepali teas yet, you're missing out. Our award-winning teas are making headlines. Find out why. Visit Nepal Tea Collective's website to get a free sample of this extraordinary taste of the Himalayas. That's nepalteacollective.com. Or just send me an email at nish, Nish, at nepalteacollective.com. Cheers.
There are a half dozen critical tea supply chain handoffs that require quality control assessments by producers and processors, traders, wholesale buyers, and retailers. Ascertaining and predicting tea quality at each step is a time-sensitive, laborious, and expensive process. Newly developed cloud-based predictive and prescriptive profilers powered by artificial intelligence are redefining transactions by offering buyers and sellers unbiased reference points. These portable devices expedite quality assessment by producing an affordable digital profile that is as unique as a fingerprint and traceable. Profiles combine tasting notes and test results on site in minutes. TBiz invited the development team at ProfilePrint in Singapore to describe their technology and its application to tea. Sherman Ho, Chief Science and Technology Officer, Ellis, Chua, Chief Commercial Officer, and Phong Tham, Head of Corporate at ProfilePrint, join us for this briefing with tea buyer Ravi Pillai, Director of Quality and Development at DAVIDsTea in Montreal. ProfilePrint founder Alan Lai is a pioneer in digital food identity as a service, IDassS, which uses AI-driven portable analyzers to gather complex molecular data from ingredient samples. The result is a digital fingerprint that establishes the identity and predicts the quality of rice, grains, seeds, including coffee and cocoa, tea leaves, spices, and oils. Alan explains that the objective is not to replace tasters who manually evaluate hundreds of cups daily, combining art and skill beyond the existing technology. The hyperspectral analysis is comparable to an off-site lab, but buyers and sellers benefit most from combining an organoleptic assessment to create a model of just what they want. The sellers create a model of what they have to offer in the digital marketplace, where matches can be made in milliseconds. The analyzers also reduce repetitive and mundane tasks like screening out undesirable samples before the meticulous preparation required for cupping. Quote, "Our clients view ProfilePrint as an apprentice who's ready to learn and helps complete tasks the same way we would have done them ourselves, freeing us up to focus on more complex tasks," said Alan. Quote, "Industry professionals don't enjoy mundane and repetitive tasks, but they still prefer to personally complete them as much as practically possible because it's difficult to rely on others when they are ultimately still held responsible," he said. Trusting and training an apprentice takes years without the certainty that it will succeed. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the call. Sherman, will you explain how this works?
Yeah, so Sherman here. So I look after all the technology here at ProfilePrint. Nice to meet you then, Ravi. Let me just say up front that with all this hype about AI and machine learning and data science and all that, right? What still is critical for all of us to understand, okay, about AI is that it's just like a novice, okay, a beginner. So in the tea industry, you can think of it as yourself 20, 30 years ago when you started tasting tea, learning to appreciate tea, getting involved in the industry. AI is like so. It's like a little child is learning. Now, so this AI, therefore, right, needs to see things. Okay, it needs to taste tea. It needs to taste coffee. Just as it has tasted coffee before, it has to taste the tea. But unlike humans, we taste with our tongue. When we taste with our tongue, the tea liquor sends the signals through our tongue to the brain. Okay, and these are electrical signals as well. The brain processes it and gives us the impression, okay, this tea is aromatic, this is fragrant, it has some flowery notes, this one has some earthy notes, okay, and that one has some fruity notes, and so on and so forth. Now, what the AI does and what ProfilePrint technology does before the AI itself is to also undergo that same tasting process. Instead of using a tongue to taste, you might have heard about electronic tongues before, okay? They attempt to biomimic the tongue. But in this case, our little AI novice attempts to taste the tea using its eyes. It's using eyes. It's using light signals. All right. But mind you, the light signals that this analyzer has goes beyond what we can see as humans. It goes into the infrared range. Therein lies the difference between just using color to look at, to appreciate tea, to evaluate tea, and going beyond color to evaluate tea. Now, what happens is basically tasting with its eyes, is using light, shining a lamp onto the tea samples. And when these signals bounce back, okay, and the tea would have modified these light signals in a certain way, just as our tongue interacts with tea liquor. All right. These modified signals is unique to each sample. And therefore, we call this the fingerprint. Okay, the digital fingerprint of the tea. In other words, it also can be construed as the identity of the sample, the unique identity of this sample. Now, having tasted quite a number of these, and what I'm portraying right now is the training phase for some of our, what we call models, the AI models. Having tasted a number of tea samples, it will then learn to recognize certain patterns in all these fingerprints. And you, as the teacher, you would say, the first sample scores an 8.0 for aroma. The second one scores a 7.0 for aroma. The third one scores a 7.2, and so on and so forth. It could be aroma, fragrance, the astringency, so on and so forth. You as the teacher teaches it, look, for this tea, we as professionals, as your teachers, are saying that it's this, and this. Okay, it's rated like so. And overall, it could be also considered, be regarded as grade A, or grade B, or grade C. Okay, now, having all this info on hand, the machine then learns. It recognizes the patterns that it has seen rather than tasted, it feeds. Okay, it feeds the taste. And then it then maps out a relationship between what it sees and what you have told the machine that the tea is. Okay, and from this relationship, it therefore then forms a model, which is, if you think about it, very similar to how us humans actually are tasting. When you started out, you would have had a mentor who would tell you that this is good tea and that is bad tea. Okay, and you have learned, okay, this is good, this is good. And when you taste something that you kind of not very sure, you will consult your mentor. Is this good or is this bad? And that mentor, he or she would have told you, okay, now this is actually bad. Then you would learn from it. Okay, and you would tune your own mental model as your experience accrues. This is exactly the same as how the AI in ProfilePrint works. All right. So as I mentioned, the main difference is between how it processes the tea. It sees the tea instead of having to brew the tea and taste it. And therein lies the efficiency gains that you see by using the AI. Okay.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, and I think that's quite a clear point. Question: what you feed in, are you tasting to put in parameters into the machine, sample by sample? Because our goal is to send these information to potential buyers. So what does the broker taste to give his buyer? Between the garden and the buyer, there is a route from the garden to that buyer through a broker. That's one step. Then the broker has his own clients who are overseas and wherever. So he does another blend of those teas from different regions, different gardens. And all this is fed into different sections. Then there is the broker and the buyer and the ultimate end user in another country who's trying to buy the tea. Now, that end user is buying a blend of teas. He's buying a standard. So we are tasting different teas and doing our own parameters into this to make the sample, which may have about 3 different teas from 3 different regions. So where does this AI fit in?
Thanks, Ravi. So excellent. This is actually what I was going to talk about next. So where can we apply ProfilePrint in a nutshell? Now, if I were to sum it up, ProfilePrint's intervention are where the decisions are made. All right. Now, it's important to also consider where the decisions are made. Who is making those decisions? So between the buyer and the seller, typically the buyer set the standard. All right. Now the seller himself, okay, may have a model after himself or his own panel of tasters. And this will give you an idea of how your teas are tasting, okay, are like. Now, for the buyer typically would have their own standards that they adhere to. Okay, their own panel of sensory experts, they adhere to a different standard from you. There is some sort of a mismatch here. All right, that we all understand. All right, that leads to the inefficiencies in the whole market. ProfilePrint can then do for you is to model the buyer. All right. Now, in the coffee industry, we have done this a few different ways. It could be that the buyer themselves also has a ProfilePrint system. They train their own models based on what they like. And they have the potential to share this model with their sellers. All right. So basically this simply states, using the ProfilePrint system, only sell me what the system is telling you that I would like. All right. So this helps the seller to then choose the samples that they know the buyers are more likely to accept. I won't say for sure. All right. There's always inaccuracies, but I would say it's more likely that the buyers would accept. Okay. But you as a seller, based on your own standard, and when you approach a new buyer whom you have no idea what the standards are like for, you could at least use your own standard, your own model. to generate a report, okay, that says, look, this one we graded as aromas, everyone is predicted as so, blah, blah, blah. And this is the report that I would like to share with you. Are you interested in this tea sample? Okay, so here we have seen two sides of the same coin, two sides where ProfilePrint can be employed, the buyer side and the selling side. Now, you spoke about blending as well. And what we understood of blending, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated as well. When we do blending, we don't really measure in terms of, okay, now this tea that I'm going to blend is 7.0 or 6.5 or something like that. It's more of, okay, I have this blend, this target blend that I'm trying to copy, okay, or I'm trying to get to. Now, with a bunch of teas in my own database or my own library, I picked in order to emulate that taste. And I use my impression. I taste it, it has a little bit of floral, it has a little bit of fruity, the other one has a bit more astringency, and now I will piece them together in a certain proportion. And then I fine-tune it along the way as I evaluate my blends. Now, in this whole thing, there is no model. Okay, there is no model. There is just the impression you have of it, the mental image of it that you have, the taste map of it. Now, ProfilePrint can do something extremely similar. We call it the blend solution. All right, this blend solution is something of interest that our Sri Lanka partners have been looking at also recently. We are actually undertaking an experiment with them to validate this. Now, this works. How this works is like so. You basically will have scanned a number of tea samples, okay, that correspond to your library, or you could also, if you have willing partners, take the scans that they have. All right, this opens up a whole new world of possibilities where you can share your scans with everybody in a huge network. Everybody knows what everyone else has. We can create a lot of new blends that way. So with all these blends in your library, and all of them has the fingerprint ready and digitalized, it's immortalized in the cloud already. Now, using this, you just grab, and so the machine, what the algorithm does is to grab all these, and then it tries to permutate and combine them, okay, in order to create a new fingerprint that is made up of a blend of teas that is extremely similar to your target blend. So this is what we call the blend module, and this is what we have found to be extremely useful for a lot of people downstream of the supply chain, where they're all blending different things for a variety of purposes in order to create a standard different sources so that they can even out the inconsistencies in the supply chain by using substitutes, or to cost optimize by choosing teas or coffees that may confer the same taste to the blend but cost lesser. All right. So we have some of these use cases already validated. So this is where it enters the realm of what we call unsupervised machine learning. There are no models to be built. It's just a mathematical combination of all these fingerprints, just like what you do when you are doing blending, just that we broke it down into numbers instead.
So ProfilePrint benefits growers and producers, but these tools are actually most helpful for buyers, right?
It took us quite a while, a couple of years to figure out. At the end of the day, the buyer is the one that decides. Why do we say that? Because they are the ones that set the grades, and they're the one who pay the money. So if we can capture the buyer's attention and get them to say, why don't you build a model based on your acceptance criteria? So I said acceptance criteria, right? Because we know there's variance. Your samples, actual arrival is going to be different. So it had to be quite a loose model that we built. And once we capture that, if they can convince the traders or even downstream to say that, okay, I'm using this ProfilePrint as my solution, as a standard, then downstream, the suppliers or traders will likely fall in line to say that, okay, no, it's the same like a moisture meter or a weighing machine, right? I want to use this brand, and I only will accept the standards if you use the same brand as my standard. So that's why in the last, I think, 6 months, we'll be working on solutions for the buyer side, which means that once you set the buying criteria, this model can be deployed at the trader side, or you can go even downstream to the garden side. The fact of the matter is that at the garden level, the use case is quite low. Because as you mentioned, the traders have to buy from different gardens, and they blend it. So the gardens don't really have much power to say what they do. However, for us, the solutions that come out is what we call match. But actually, match is more like a sourcing solution. Because at the end of the day, when the options, you get 10,000 samples, 2,000 samples, how do they decide which are the ones to really cup and to bid for it? A lot is through experience and things like that. However, if they can have an inventory, a digital inventory of what that season or the harvest is going to be about, they can make the selection faster to fulfill the needs for their buyer. Because at the end of the day, whatever they do is actually fulfilling the needs for the buyer. Blend better, blend more consistent, so they get less rejection. So that's our goal, actually. We talk to the buyers, and hopefully the buyers can come together, or in the case of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka keyboard comes into play and say, okay, let's have a certain standard that before auction, let's capture it digitally. And then have the trader's model or have the buyer's model deployed and superimposed so that they can source much quicker and faster. Because there's no such thing as lousy tea, right? It's just different grades of tea for different prices. Exactly. So everyone will have a so-called some room in this whole ecosystem. That's our angle, actually. Service from the buyer standpoint and try to, I would say, deploy it downwards, upstream towards the traders and eventually the gardens.
That's right. So what I understand, it's we are targeting more as an audience the traders or the buyers at auction. Yeah. Yes. So and it's for them to transmit to the gardens what they're looking for.
Exactly. And what the gardens need to do is actually make avail that season's harvest digitally. Then they can match it using whatever models I can put on my platform. So our platform actually facilitates such things. So you can imagine one sample or one harvest, multiple buyers looking at this and then see which is the one that fit them the most. Then the purchase will be done more seamlessly and frictionless. That's the angle that we try to achieve.
Intrigued by what you heard in today's podcast? Would you like to learn more from our global network of tea-biz journalists and tea experts? Remember to visit the Tea-Biz website for more comprehensive coverage. That's www.tea-biz.com. Thanks for listening. Farewell till next week.
Produced by Adavita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.